Welcome back to Too Many Books, the DC comic review show here on the Radium Theatre YouTube channel. Sorry for being a little bit late. Today I am going to be talking about 10 books which came out this week, which I will continue to reiterate is too many books. But it's very good. There were a few real gems this week that you should probably check out. So let's get started. Batman Fear State, number 12. This is, as I said last week with the Alpha kickoff issue, is James Tynion's kind of goodbye to the DC universe for now. Two beautiful, absolutely gorgeous covers there. Essentially picking up, if you read the Free Comic Book Day issue, it's got that kind of TV ad for Sane Industries. We get to kind of see Simon Saint release spoilers, kind of the new his secret evil kind of peacekeeper to chase after Peacekeeper 1, who's obviously kind of been sent insane by Jonathan Crane. Batman gets out of the trap and the nightmare that he's been in for the last couple of issues, and it was just really ridiculously entertaining. As I said, this design on the Scarecrow is so unbelievably metal. I can't put into words. Like, if you have the resources, you should go and get this. Go and do it. Very enjoyable all around. And it's Jorge Jimenez is doing all the art. We get to see, I mean, look at that. I mean, just beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous. Go and get amongst it. Get amongst also a little bit of Batman Catwoman number 7. This is the first issue with Liam Sharp taking over the art, because there's been some delays for the title. And I don't know how I feel about, like, Liam Sharp is beautiful artist, right? If you look at his Green Lantern run with Grant Morrison, it's magnificent, right? But it's so different from the style of the first 7 issues. That said, especially his design on Selena Kyle, the elder Catwoman. But essentially, it's the following the confession that Selena made in the last issue for having murdered the Joker. Dick Grayson kind of shows up to arrest her, and we kind of get to see that played off against a moment in the past in which kind of Bruce and Selena kind of make hot, passionate kind of bow chicka wow, and kind of in post-coital shame, Bruce is like, we can't keep doing this. I can't. No. And then they continue doing it. It's really great. I really like Tom King's Batman run in, like, the regular series. I think it'd be interesting to see, to reread all of this, to once all of the 3 timelines are kind of, like, clearly you can see, because you can start to see where it's all going now. But still, can't recommend it enough. But new art, and Liam Sharp, as I said, it's a different style, and I think it's better that he didn't, like, ape like somebody else's style and did his own versions of it. It's just gonna, like, especially in trade, it's gonna be kind of like, and here's the 3 issues towards the end where, like, Liam Sharp kind of came into something. But anyways, still magnificent title. Cannot recommend it enough. Go out, get amongst it, etc. Black Manta number 1 of the one in, like I said, it's a 6-part miniseries. I'm not a massive Aquaman person in terms of, like, the lore of all of the different characters and this, that, the other thing. So I not really quite sure what the motivations for Black Manta in all of this are. And as I said, it's just the first issue. Picks up from that story from last week's Aquaman 80th. It'll be interesting to see where it goes. It's only 6 issues, but yeah, I don't really have a lot to say because I don't really not like 100% sure where it's going at the moment. Something that I am sure where it's going, or not so much sure where it's going, but am sure is very, very good, is Dan Jurgens and Ryan Sook on Blue and Gold. This is issue number 2. This is amazing. I cannot put into words how good this is. But I will now attempt to. So, the idea that Booster Golds and Blue Beetle are kind of like Blue Beetle's been kicked off of the board of Cord Industries because his unhackable computer program is hacked, and that's how you know that you're not actually that smart of a computer program, that you're actually programmer, that you say, I created an unhackable software. That is hubris, my friend. And consequently, he's thrown off of the board because he's also like not around a lot. So he needs, he's trying to monetize being the Blue Beetle. But Booster Gold, he's all in it for the likes and the clicks, because getting Skeets to live stream their exploits. And it begins with kind of like there's no longer, Blue Beetle doesn't have his ship anymore, so he's on a buggy. It's amazing. There's a reference to the death of Superman in it. Ryan Sook, he did the Legion of Superheroes. It's really good. Like, that's all I can say. Like, in terms of this is 8 issues. And it'll probably tie into things because, like, Swamp Thing's a limited series and that's tying into things. But, like, by God, this is so good. Buy it. Go and get it. As I said, Ryan Sook, look at that art. It's beautiful. Dan Jurgens. He's as Barry Michael Bendis put it, he's the guy who's been carrying Superman's water for like 20 years. The best. We love it, folks. Anyways, I'm going to do these two together. Green Lantern Annual and Green Lantern number 6. There's like a paper problem, so the annual was supposed to ship but didn't. So essentially, the annual deals with surprise, as you can probably tell, twist from the front cover, deals with following the destruction of the Great Power Battery on Oa. All we have now is all of the Green Lanterns had in their rings whatever power was left in their individual lanterns and their rings, and then after that they had nothing. And Jessica Cruz decides that the solution is to, she with the last of her power is able to defeat these yellow lanterns. And because she strikes so much fear into these yellow lanterns, they abandon their respective hosts and go to Jessica. And it's this very kind of interesting play because she was obviously introduced to this character with generalized anxiety disorder, and that kind of like the weird interplay between her being this kind of avatar of will, having a Green Lantern, whilst simultaneously being kind of like unable to leave her apartment and stuff. And then seeing how that kind of like, once she joins Sinestro's core, like, she is now fear. She is she has mastered or is now using this thing that is the previously used to kind of crush and defeat her. Really good stuff. She also has a great conversation with Hal Jordan, even though, and as you can see, he's down there in that corner getting beat up. But that leads then kind of like, so this was actually not, like, I read this after the issue that this is actually meant to be set before issue 5. But alas, issue 6, we get to see the Joe Mulligan, who's the Far Sector Green Lantern, essentially goes to Kurgan, the planet of the Sinestro Corps, and the Teen Lantern who believes that Sinestro is responsible for destroying the power battery, has gone there and is kind of like with this kind of the gauntlet that she is kind of like she wields, the Teen Lantern wields, that allows her to like make constructs, is just like beating the shit out of the Yellow Lantern Corps. And yeah, it's really the conversation between Joe Mulligan and Sinestro is really cool. We also get to see what's going on with John Stewart and the rest of the Corps, who are in many cases like Kilowog doesn't have a ring anymore because he's depleted, and so they're essentially all deciding, well, we're kind of just like people now, but we still need to go do Greenland and shit. And we're going to, without powers, go off and like fight and stuff. It's really cool. It's really interesting. And yeah, it's a huge space opera. Like, it really is. Like, we've got stuff going on in like 3 different places, and you can see how it's all going to tie together. And it's just, yeah, it's really great. I really am enjoying the current Green Lantern series. Speaking of things that I also enjoyed, the end of Infinite Frontier from Joshua Williamson and Domenico. What can I say? I really like the idea of the multiverse being a pain in the ass for the people within the multiverse, and that being a meta commentary on being a comic book fan and constantly having the ground beneath your feet shift as a result of crises and events and status quo changes, etc. And the idea that the anger within general constituents of the multiverse who are outside of kind of Earth Zero and the main characters that we as readers mostly interact with, like trying to find a way around like their current lives. I really like that idea. I think Williamson, because he's like a giant nerd and he used to work in a comic book store, and he's kind of like, it's this is what I was talking about last week with issue 5, just that like having that dialogue with the reader about Crisis on Infinite Earths and going like, that was 35 years ago, like, but still it's current for the continuity and for a certain section of the readers. It's still, it's like it happened yesterday. I know all of the stuff with, Pariah and the Anti-Monitor and da-da-da-da-da. And so it wasn't until I got to the end of this issue that I went, oh, he's doing a sequel to Crisis on Infinite Earths. And it's not like, Infinite Crisis is a sequel to Crisis on Infinite Earths, with the stuff with like Alexander Luthor and kind of like continuing those stories from Crisis. And I feel that this is what Infinite Frontier is the same. It's that same thing where it's, let's pick up with Psycho Pirate and with Pariah, and let's play around with the idea of the multiverse, not the way that Snyder did it, which was really clever, which was kind of like, well, we have this multiverse and here are the mechanics of it, right? Like, we have like this Ori of world, like the Ori of worlds and all this kind of like the Morrison stuff, and like let me create like more parts of the kind of like DC universe metaphysics, and it all makes sense that like the dark multiverse is like where the World Forger kind of, you have him and the dragon and da-da-da-da-da. This is much more intimate, where it's kind of what are the effects on the individual characters within this broad, huge, ever-changing universe. and what are the effects on those classic characters, specifically from the Crisis. And to not have it end with like, Superboy Prime punches a hole in reality or whatever, and actually go, well, kind of Bones, who's been the central kind of thread of this entire thing, he kind of gets away. He's going out and hanging out with Checkmate. All right, cool. Where's the Flash, who kind of like began Infinite Frontier, kind of like coming across Darkseid? Where's he? He's still running. He's been tricked into running forever, and is now like in like his fantasy of like pre-Crisis continuity. And there's a bunch of references to Crisis, like in terms of the art and stuff, in terms of that, the disintegration of Barry Allen into the Speed Force, retconned into the Speed Force, to see that kind of replayed. And then it's like he's going to, like, rather than dying as a result of the Crisis, post-Crisis not existing, it's kind of like he's being rewound and going back into like that pre-Crisis version of Barry Allen. That's where he lives now until next year. We'll find out. It's a really weird book. Like it's kind of like the Justice Incarnate, and Darkseid kind of like are fighting. And then Darkseid's like, oh, well, this isn't going to work. It's not, there isn't like a huge, like, obviously it's like it's the ending of the first act of Williamson's kind of 3-part story that he's doing, similar to what Snyder did with Metal, Justice League, and Death Metal. It's kind of like, well, Infinite Frontier is the metal, kind of. It's not as kind of like bam. But yeah, anyways, I feel like I'm kind of being very non-specific because there's like, I really am excited to see the Justice Incarnate team like investigating the threads that are left from this. But I feel that rereading this, knowing where it's ending, like knowing it isn't this, it's a very kind of, it's a meditative book about the DC universe rather than an event which shakes the DC universe. I've enjoyed it, but very much looking forward to in a year and a half revisiting it and going, look at the way that he's planted that, and then that's kind of leading into that, which is and then to kind of like look at the payoff, and hopefully he sticks the landing. And from everything that I've seen, Williamson seems like the guy to do that. Also, it looks beautiful. Like, as I said, it's pretty good. Similarly to the Green Lantern, the Suicide Squad annual was supposed to ship paper thingy-majiggy, but anyways, so do these both at the same time. Do it the opposite way around this time. Suicide Squad number 7, Ambush Bug. Here to break the fourth wall. Essentially, the squad. First of all, the Peacemaker was kind of like introduced in the squad at the beginning of this current run. He's off doing stuff with Swamp Thing, which I'll get to in a minute. But the rest of the squad are kind of like in a dream kind of thing, which is being, it's like they're all in like vats with shit in their brains, and it's kind of like mass hallucination or whatever. Ambush Bug is in with them, and they're essentially planning what they're going to do about Amanda Waller, who's creating this like her own version of the Justice League, which is kind of a remnant from Future State. This was really interesting. Was not expecting, I think fourth wall, because they were inside of a simulation, I was more okay with the fourth wall-y stuff. But there's a lot of kind of like, I read the solicitations kind of stuff, which I was kind of like, because of the way that the book is feeding into all of the other stories, kind of makes my brain kind of go, but it's kind of interesting. I like the idea that kind of like this is also kind of like feeding into the annual, the idea that Rick Flag, who kind of escaped during the Red X kind of craziness a couple of issues ago, that he's essentially kind of like this he wants to stop Amanda Waller because there was like a point where he like believed in the mission, which was really cool. But we finally also get to see here in Suicide Squad, the annual, what happened, like who is this new Superboy? And it turns out that Superboy is actually there was like a serum that Amanda Waller is essentially getting. He's like a D-list villain from the 90s who has been kind of given a face swap, and there's this kind of the entire series. I liked the idea of Superboy kind of being like, it's just he's just kind of some version of Superboy. Having it be like he's being convinced that he's Superboy, brainwashed into thinking he's Superboy. I've seen that before, and I generally don't like that conceit. What I like about the way they've done it, and it kind of feeds into this as well, which is that like it's that he needs to learn how to be Superboy. Like if he can be like it's he's given essentially the opportunity to take more of the drug, which makes him like super strong, gives him all the powers and stuff, and he doesn't want to do it. But then there's like this kind of like there's an element of individual will that he has to show in order to become Superboy. He fights himself, and then they discover that they're all clones. It's pretty I don't know. It's I mean, it's beautiful. Like from a like that's a beautiful image, and that's in the book. But as I said, it's mostly just kind of like Waller wants some like a version of Superman on her version of the Justice League that she's creating. And this is, she's running she's running a bunch of tests, and essentially we finally get to see some of that backstory. Both these, interesting issues. But I will now get to the continuation of Suicide Squad, kind of, with the last book for this week, Swamp Thing number 7. This is from a panel in Suicide Squad number 7. You actually see like this conversation Waller has with Swamp Thing, in which he's like, I want this person who, the new Swamp Thing Levi, I want to be able to get him so that I have somebody on my kind of like justice, my Suicide League. It's called the Suicide League. I want somebody on my Suicide League who has control of the green. Look at how amazing that is. And so we get to see Peacemaker, who, last issue was kind of like wandering around in the green, where Swamp Thing and his girlfriend, whose name I kind of like a childhood flame kind of person, his friend, are wandering around, and we're getting to see, following on from issue 6, more of the story of what happened, leading to Levi becoming the Swamp Thing. So we know from his brother, kind of did some sort of like incantation or something after their father like got very angry and died in the like this protest, essentially, because the Americanized kind of like it's the westernized kind of son. He comes home, yes, all of your like ancient kind of superstitious love for the land is nonsense. I work for a conglomerate now, and I'm going to hand it over. And I'm going to hand over this beautiful kind of remnant of the green to like these my bosses, and getting to see the kind of like that kind of seems to have led to him becoming Swamp Thing. It's kind of like the green has punished him. It's like you were happy to see me get destroyed, but I, in fact, am happy to now. Like, you are now my avatar. Ram V's work on this has been really great. The entire run of the Infinite Frontier Swamp Thing. As said, we get Peacemaker, and yeah, it's pretty good. Those are all of the books that I read. And yeah, as I said, in terms of my pick of the week, 100% going to have to be Blue and Gold. I can't believe that I'm saying that, because, well, not that I can't believe it, because like it's obviously Dan Jurgens, but yeah, it's just so I don't have to read a bunch of other stuff. It's just one issue by itself. We're having fun. But yeah, Future State version of, well, no, not Future State, Fierce State. You know, that version of Scarecrow is also ridiculously metal. So I highly recommend picking that up as well. And yeah, none of these books this week were duds, I would say. Like, there was nothing that I read and I was like, this is garbage. Why am I reading this? But the Green Lantern, I really, if in terms of like a sleeper, because I think Blue and Gold, you know, I don't know how much love that's getting. And I don't think the Fierce State needs me to be flogging it. But in terms of like things that I would highly recommend jumping on, what has happened so far in Thorne's Green Lantern run has been great. So yeah, I would definitely throw out. These are my picks. Go off and do it. Spend money and say in the comments that you spent money on me. So DC people will come. They'll go, look, this is some new content creator making content about our stuff. Maybe we can give him free stuff because he's driving traffic and engagement. Apparently they don't really do that, DC. It doesn't matter how big your channel gets. They don't want to give you money. But it's just too many books. I would like to get some free books. Anyways, thank you very much for tuning in. Like and subscribe. And yeah, see you next week for another episode of Too Many Books.